Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Look here, let me give you a quick recap of what happened in episode 1 with GD Chaos. Bro got written up, the 9 got written up for engaging in homosexual activities, and as the hearing was going down, you know what I'm saying, after the hearing was concluded, almost concluded, he revealed that his whole board, all of them knew what he had been doing, but they kept it secret. And now, we have to have a vote. His punishment been handed down, burn them on GD arrest, and that means they restricted to their cells. They ain't got no power, no authority, no nothing. Now, with the rest of us, we got to figure out what to do. We're going to have a vote and see who's going to become the temporary 9. You understand what I'm saying? So we can move forward with the business, right? So here we are. We down on the ball field. Everything is in chaos. Everything is in an uproar. And brother, I'm trying to figure out who gonna do this and who gonna do that, and ain't nobody really wanting the spot. Ain't nobody advocating for the spot because we still in shock. We still in shock. We don't know what just happened. Bro and them been watching and letting bro engage in homosexual activity. They watching it go down and they ain't saying nothing because they've been benefiting from it because they've been really able to do what they wanted to do. Like, wait a minute. What we gonna do about this? So bro and them, you know, they sitting around and talking. It wasn't no formal thing. We didn't write nothing down on no piece of paper and all this and that, right? But we sitting down and we're talking, we're trying to figure out who's what's what. And it was just by nature of who I am and what I do and how I live that I was doing most of the talking. And Bro said, Joe, why don't you take the spot temporarily until we hear back from Bro? And I was like, no, that humility, you know what I'm saying, kicked in. I said, no. But at the same time, it wasn't really about humility. I'm going to keep it 100. I didn't want that kind of drama, man. I didn't even want that kind of smoke. I just seen something happen that, man, it ain't supposed to be like that. So I backed away. I was like, no, I'm good. And then that brother and them, they just kept pushing. It was this other brother named Ray Ray. Ray Ray was like, look here, Joe T. Man, look here. You just took over everything anyway. You got the spot, man. When we hear back, you know what I'm saying, from bro, we'll figure out what to do from here on out. But you need to take the spot so we can get this thing moving and get these brothers taken care of, man. We ain't got time to be playing and dilly-dallying and worrying about you not wanting to be in a position of authority. It is what it is, right? So I'm saying, Ray, why don't you do it? He said, bro, you got the spot. Let's move forward. Pick your staff. So I said, I pick you. You my number 2. How about that? He said, I'll take that. So anyway, we get, you know what I'm saying, we go through the little ceremonial thing, get sworn in and all this and that, right? And I got my number 2, I got my COS, I got my secretary, I got my treasurer. We got all of that laid out. Now everything is like, okay, what we do now? I said, put some brothers together, man, and go on to take care, you know what I'm saying, brother, you know, that used to be 9, go on to take him, give him 6 minutes, no cover up. He can't have no position for at least 1 year, no position, no power coordinator, no nothing. He can't make no decisions about nothing for at least a year. You feel what I'm saying? He on the outside looking in from here on out. But you treat him like he's still one of the guys. Don't mistreat him, right? I said, as far as the other brothers, write them all up. Write them all up because I want to know how they were benefiting, what they were doing, why they didn't say nothing. So the investigation is underway. Everybody is getting and doing whatever they were that I was asking them to do. But here's the thing. As all of this stuff is playing out, something else is going on, right? The word done spread around the compound. You know what I'm saying? GD is fractured. GD got problems. Joe T in charge now. Now I know a lot of brothers from the Ville. I know, you know what I'm saying? A lot of brothers from all over. I done got to know a lot of brothers that time that I was back on Max. You know what I'm saying? Kicking with brother and we was all cool. Different affiliations and peons and everybody. It was all good, right? I done had to take care of my business a couple of times when we was coming out, man. So they know I ain't got no, you know what I'm saying, ain't no fear, man. I ain't running from nothing. We gonna do what we need to do, but we gonna move as one. You feel me? They all understood that. They all understood that. So we getting down, right? So now all of a sudden, after about a week or so, I'm at work. You know, I'm doing what I gotta do. I'm at work. I'm teacher's aide at this particular time. You know what I'm saying? I'm at work doing what I do. I come in. I walk in the cell. I see all kind of stuff on the table. The table sits right at the front of the cell. You know what I'm saying? So a person could, you know, I ain't never locked my cell door. Never. I wasn't on that. Ain't nobody going in there. If you're going there, you're going to deal with whatever you got to deal with. You know what I'm saying? I ain't finna be playing with you, right? Because a lot of times when you lock your cell, you got to wait for the police to unlock it and all this and that. But the part I was in, we all street. We all street and we understand boundaries. You violate the boundaries, we're gonna get them up, then we're gonna move on and keep getting money. But I left the door open, right? Plus, my seller was always around anyway. So when I come in, my seller, he from Chattown, 010. He said, I said, bro, what's all this stuff on the table? I'm talking about this dope, commissary, all these type of things, right? And he leaning back on the bunk, but he up there reading the book. He talking about, look like they tributes. I said, tributes? What is you talking about, fool? He said, Joe T, he said, I don't live like you live, right? He said, but I do know something about the lifestyle that you living, right? All these people, man, around here, man, they see you in charge now, and y'all got numbers, so they want to make sure they on your good side. I said, what's that got to do with all of this stuff, right? About that time, one of the guys knocked on the door. He said, hey, bro, I need to get at you. I said, okay, give me a second. He said, no, G be the reason, right? And when the brother say G be the reason, that means I need to get at you right now, bro. You know what I'm saying? I said, all right, then. I said, I'll holler at you in a minute, Tim. I stepped outside the door. I'm standing outside the cell door, right at the door. I said, what's up, bro? He said, hey, man, all that stuff you got in there on the table. I'm like, yeah, I was just talking to my seller about that. What's all it? He said, man, bro, them, it's different affiliations, peons, everybody been breaking you off all day, bringing stuff to me, and I've been putting it on the table, man. They talking about they just want to show some respect towards you. I said, for what? What's going on? He said, man, that's just because you the 9. I said, man, first thing I'm thinking, man, these niggas trying to cross me out off the wham. I said, hey, bro. I said, man, we ain't supposed to be into no extortion, right? That's one of the laws too, right? I said, is this by law? He said, man, I don't even know what's going on, right? I said, man, go get Ray. So we go get Ray. Come over. I said, hey, bro. I said, man, you know about this? He said, yeah, I know. But he said, man, that's funny to me. He said, I don't know why. Ain't nobody told them to do that. He said, about how much is it? I said, man, I don't know. I'm finna go in here and look at it during the count. And then I'll let you know after the count. He said, man, break me off. I said, man, look here. I don't even know if we going to keep that. I'm by the law, man. I don't even know if we going to keep it. He said, man, we keeping that. I said, man, and I started laughing because bro, he serious about that. He about his business. He won't really keep it. I said, man, we'll talk about that after the lockdown. So I go in. I'm sitting in there. I'm counting. I got about 4 or 5 zips of some weed. Couple of ounces of that powder. Commissary after yin yang, all kind of stuff, tobacco, you understand what I'm saying? All kind of stuff, man. I'm like, dang, it's the come up right here. It's money, it's free money too. I ain't paid a nickel. It's already independent. I could just get money. Then I get greedy. I'm thinking, I wonder how long they gonna keep doing this. Is this permanent or whatever, right? So, talking to my seller. He like, man, look here, if they gonna give it to you, take it. I said, man, I ain't messed up with that, but if this ain't how we supposed to get down, I'm not doing that, man. Cause I'm just witnessing what done happened to the other 9, you know what I'm saying? Because you can get sucked into this stuff, man, real easy. So look, count clear. I holler at Ray. He said, bro, as far as I know, ain't nothing wrong with what they got going on with you, right? I said, this is how we gonna make sure that we all safe. Everybody getting a piece of this, man. Spread this around throughout the whole organization, man. You feel what I'm saying? Make sure everybody get them at least one sack to smoke and something to get them some money, but spread it around, you know what I'm saying? And what's left, me and you will chop it up down the middle. He said, oh, I got it. He said, man, I'm getting everybody a joint. I ain't getting them a sack. I said, man, however you want to do it, you make sure everybody gets something. Something. He took care of the business, man. We split everything else up. So then after another couple of weeks, it come again. So now I'm getting curious. I start asking questions, right? Because I ain't saying nothing to nobody. I ain't even told nobody thank you or none of that. It's like it's a regular thing being dropped off. So I get a letter. Because we done push brother them to the back. You understand? We done pushed them to the back. All the brothers that knew that the 9 was messing around, we pushed them to the back. Because to me, they were a bigger threat than brother that was messing with the boy. You understand what I'm saying? They were controlling things through his weakness. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah, all that. You feel what I'm talking about? But anyway, I ain't gonna call it a weakness. What I'm gonna say is that they knew he was violating the law, and they let him violate the law as long as they were able to do what they wanted to do. So to me, that was a bigger threat. They had to go. They had to be pushed to the back. Pushed them to the back. But I get a letter from bruh that used to be the number 2. And it's cryptic. We talking codes and all this and that. And I'm reading it. But basically what he was telling me was this. He said, bruh, guys gonna be dropping off things to you. You understand what I'm saying? He said, that was for me and bruh, you mean him and the 9. They done made these arrangements with individuals on the compound. And these arrangements still stand because they done told them this is going to be as long as you're on the compound. Now, these are other affiliations, peons, all of that, right? So at this particular time, I was able to go on legal visits on the other side of the fence. So I scheduled a legal visit to go back there to talk to him. So I went back in the back. I'm back there talking to him. I said, man, tell me what's up with this. And he said, Joe T, we was extorting them dudes, man. I said, oh, man, you done got me caught up in this kind of stuff, man. He said, man, it is what it is. I said, how long y'all been doing it? He said, man, a couple of years. And I said, oh, my God. Oh, my goodness. He said, look, what's going to happen next, you finna have some police come to you. They done already been back here to holler at me. I said, the police? I said, you with the police too? I said, nigga, we should have got rid of you when we had the chance, man. He like, no, it ain't like that, Joe T. He said, look, you the 9 now. And there's some things you need to know. Now, this brother been part of the business for years. Many years before me. You understand what I'm saying? And he been involved in the business on the street. So he really know what he talking about. He said, look. He said, them police is finna come to you. They gonna be expecting something. And I said, expecting what? He said, they gonna be expecting some payout. I said, for what? For why? I said, man, we don't pay the police. We don't do business with the police like that. He said, listen to me, man, and get all that other stuff out your head. He really trying to school me on how things really go. You understand what I'm saying? But I'm still, like I say, new to this. You feel what I'm saying as far as leadership, right? So he told me, he said, look, you're not going to be able to move like you think without cover and protection from them. I said, so you saying to me that the nation was paying them to let you and the 9 do what y'all wanted to do? He like, no, it ain't the nation paying them. It was us paying them, me and the 9. I said, so this was a personal thing. He said, we had to make sure that we could do what we needed to do, man. And we paid them off to look the other way. I said, I'm not doing that. I said, I'm not doing that. He said, and if you don't do that, you're going to have problems out of them all the time. They're going to be shaking you down, this and that. I said, man, so be it. That's part of the business. But I'm not paying no police nothing, man. Not doing that. Not doing that. It put them too far in the business. I said, what if somebody find out? I said, because if what you were doing above board, I would have already known about this. You knew it wasn't above board. You knew that's not what we were supposed to do. So what if somebody find out I done started doing the same thing that y'all was doing, man? What you think they gonna say? I'm gonna tell you what they gonna say. They gonna say the same thing that I'm finna say to you. You the police, man. We picked this life. And you need to live by that or you're out of it. He like, Joe T, you don't even know what's going on there. He said, I'm telling you, everybody do this. So you telling me everybody paying the police off? Vice Lords, Crips, Bloods, everybody paying the police off. He said, man, one way or another, somebody on every organization is cool with them in one way or another, and they look the other way. So I don't believe that. I don't believe none of that. So I left. I'm pissed though. But I can't say nothing to nobody. I don't even tell my number 2, Ray. We back on the other side, and I'm sitting there, I'm pondering. And like he said, it took about a week or two. 2 police, they come to, I'm in the set, it's on the weekend. They bumped down on me. I'm still been getting these tributes, you know what I'm saying, and having it passed out, thinking I'm good and all this and that. They bumped down. They said, can we talk to you? I'm in the cell. I'm like, yeah, what's up? I stand up off the bunk because, I ain't finna be, what I'm saying, caught off guard by no police, because back then they whooping people, man. I'm telling you, you know what I'm saying? But I got 3 or 4 brothers that sit outside the cell at all times. If something was to happen, they coming. And it is what it is. That's how it was back in the day, y'all. So they said, look, I know you understand what the arrangement is. I know you've been told. We saw that you went in the back and hollered at your guy. You know what I'm saying? So we know you know what's going on. So what we doing? I said, we ain't doing nothing. I'm not doing what they were doing. It's just that on that. Man, get it how you live, man. They looked at me and laughed. Now you got to keep in mind, I'm young, woo-de-poo. You know what I'm saying? I ain't been, you know what I'm saying, in leadership long at all, right? They looked at me and laughed. I don't even know how to take that. I'm just standing there, I'm looking at both of them. They said, turn around. Put your hands on the wall. They pat me down. And at this particular time, right back in the day, we all of us kept stuff in our pockets. All of us. That's just what it was. You know, it was like a careless, like reckless abandonment. You know what I mean? We didn't care what the police thought. That's how we were trained when we coming in. It's like, man, we gonna do what we want to do. So he took the stuff, the one that pat me down, he took the stuff I had in my pocket, he took it out. He dropped it on the bed, right? He said, man, you know I could take you to the hole for this right now. Mess your whole day up. He said, we could even take you to court. I got to thinking like, oh man, I just come off max. I ain't trying to go back. All this old stuff, right? So I said, this how we doing? He said, look, Joe T, ain't nobody asking you for a lot. We just want to bite out the apple. I said, man, look, let me holler at somebody, man, and we'll get back. You know what I'm saying? They said, all right. They said, turn around. I turned around, I'm looking at him. Dude said, man, play ball, man. Play ball and everything will be straight. You can do what you want to do. I said, man, I'll holler back, man. Now I'm feeling like a real sucker, you know what I'm saying? Because that easy. They showed me that they got authority. You feel me? Now check this out. I called Ray Ray. He come to the cell, man. I tell brought them outside and said, go get him. They go get him. He come to the cell. He said, man, what the police doing up in here? I said, man, let me tell you what, you know what I'm saying, bro in the back told me. So I give him the rundown, what I done told y'all about, you know what I'm saying, the payoff and all this and that, right? He laughing. I said, bro, this ain't funny because them police that left up out of here, they're what they want. I said, all this stuff these dudes around here been dropping off, they know about all that, man. I said, these fools just patted me down and got dope up out my pocket and everything, man. All of that, man. He said, what you do? I said, I told him I'd get back at him. He laughed. He think it's funny. He said, what you gonna do then? I said, what you think I should do, man? He said, man, Joe T, them police right there, they smokers, man. I said, they smoke. He was like, yeah. I said, oh. He said, man, we can use them. I said, use them how? They smokers. He said, man, give them what they want, but don't give it to them in money. Don't give it to them in money. Give him some of this. He pulled out his pocket. He got them Hubble rocks. I'm talking about Hubble. Look big as your thumb. You understand what I'm saying? I said, you think they'll take that? He said, man, that's what they want. He said, man, you don't know nothing about them? I said, no. He said, man, they be around here, man, trying to get anything from anybody. I said, oh, for real? I said, bet that. I said, okay then. So, I don't want to rap with them no more. So I tell Ray Ray, bump down on them and pay them off, man. Tell them don't never come to me no more. They come to you. He said, man, I got you. Ray Ray go bump down on him. He put the flip on him. Tell him, get at me. Don't say another word to Joe T. Don't even go to his cell no more. You come to me whenever you want something. You feel what I'm saying? But I'm going to give you something once a week, and that's that on that, and you keep it moving. He said, they said, that's cool. Ray Ray break them off. Now everything is rolling. But see, I learned something from the 9 before me. I learned something. I ain't keeping no secrets, man. I ain't keeping no secrets. I don't want nobody to have nothing on my head. So we had a deuce that Saturday. At the deuce, I told everybody what to be in the war and how they move with them and all this and that, right? But to be careful because I don't trust them. Even though the arrangement is what it is, I don't trust them, right? If you want to know how this continues to play out, you're going to have to tune in to the next episode, right? This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.